School teacher, professor, teaches the truth about race in America, historical context provided in an appropriate way. What happens? He gets fired. I told you this was going to happen. Let's put up the picture full mass. Governor Ron DeSantis is at the center of this. The devil is busy. Samuel Jokel, an English professor, has been fired for this week. For continuing to teach racial justice as part of his curriculum. Jokel is the English professor at the private Christian Palm Beach Atlantic University, who was fired after a parent's complaint led the dean and administration to investigate his teachings. He claims, however, that his practices were the norm. Professor Jokel noted that he has been teaching a racial justice unit in a course at the university for more than a decade. And the Palm Beach Post reported that he said he had not heard any concerns from administrators about it before. Let's go to the Post. The professor later posted on Instagram summarizing his feelings towards the administration and alluding to recourse he plans on taking. Professor Jokel also denoted the correlation between the rise in Florida's attack on education and its political atmosphere. Quote, they did this for a clear reason. My decision to teach and speak about racial justice. The timing of this is not a coincidence, as we are dealing with an anti-woke crusade from Governor DeSantis and other far-right politicians and activists. Now remember, is he teaching critical race theory? The man doesn't even know it. No, he's not teaching critical race theory. He's teaching racial justice. He's teaching true historical dynamics, context, nuance, truth, education. Remember, the entire goal of the anti-CRT legislation movement had nothing to do with critical race theory. It was never taught in K through 12 education. It had everything to do with what just happened. Teachers being either A, eliminated from the ranks of teaching for teaching the truth, or B, made afraid to do so. There's more. Let's put them up. The firing comes on the heels of a transformative period for Florida as Governor DeSantis positions himself for a possible national run. This is him pushing his modern anti-woke agenda. The policies in Florida are having a disastrous effect on teachers and students seeking a racially just, fair, and informative education. Here are two recent policies doing substantial harm. DeSantis signed the Stop Woke Act into law last year, placing restrictions on certain conversations about race in schools and businesses and banning the teaching of critical race theory in educational material that could make members of a certain race feel guilty. And they don't feel guilty, by the way, they feel uncomfortable for past actions and members of their race committed. A federal judge in November blocked part of the law that prevented public college employees from discussing 8 concepts related to race during teaching. DeSantis also decided in January to reject an advanced placement African American studies class from being taught in Florida schools in January. How is DeSantis going to position himself? Well, as the anti-everything black candidate. All right, Jeff, thoughts?
Well, yeah, the professor or the teacher said that he didn't insert his personal views in what he was teaching. And so always with the CRT news, I wonder what was actually being taught. And news around the country would suggest this. Even if they were talking about US chattel slavery, for instance, and the teacher said, I find that to be bad, even though that's objective, they would still consider that to be a subjective thing that he's trying to instill in the kids as part of a point of view, or maybe even indoctrination. So I would imagine he didn't do very much as far as teaching these kids anything beyond what we would expect or should be taught in history, but that's where we are. That's where they are in Florida.
It's so ironic, dear brother, because the very notion of, let's say, a PhD, a doctoral dissertation, is the idea of opinion, because that last chapter is a conclusion chapter. That conclusion chapter is based on your research, your meta-analysis of the data, and your grounded framework of comparative or comparing that qualitative or quantitative dynamic. You conclude based on opinion, all right? Informed opinion, but it is in fact your opinion based on data.